into a culture, into a social, living social fabric that's based at its living core on massive violence, that's covered up in Carl Jung talks about this, the shadow, which is what we are, but which, no, we're not that, but they are. We got to make a lot of weapons and beat them up because they're the evil ones. Well, we're good. We like a good burger, but we're good people. And so we have this idea that we have to, get those other bad people that are very violent. Those other ones are violent, but not us. And to really just take ownership for our society and the way we're living, and let go of not only the attitudes, but also to begin to understand how ritually we have been forced to take on attitudes that are not in our best interest. So very briefly, the situation is this. We have a society where on the outer level we're devastating the three external main areas that I mentioned earlier: the environment, the culture, and our health. Again, very briefly, because the World Peace Diet is 13 and a half hours long as an audiobook, and I would love to sit here and talk 13 and a half hours, but as a vegan, I don't like to cause unnecessary suffering to other sentient beings, and I won't keep you here that long. But, in a sense, we could really go into this. But essentially, if you really go into, read the book to really go into it and really understand it. And it's both infuriating on one level to see how unskillfully we're dealing with this precious earth, but it's also enormously inspiring to see how people are awakening, and also how abundant this earth is, and how we can feed everyone on a fraction of the land. So from the point of view of the environment, essentially animal agriculture is by far the single most devastating thing that we do to the earth. And I could go in. How many of you have seen Cowspiracy, the movie? Yeah. So please see Cowspiracy if you haven't. That was actually, Cowspiracy was created by Kip Anderson, who went through the World Peace Diet training with me about 5 years ago in Cincinnati. And he told me after the training that he wanted to make a movie to bring the World Peace Diet ideas to the world. And I said, great, make a movie. So he did a great job, I think. And so if you have a chance, it's available now on Netflix. And if you do Netflix, or you can get it online, you can just go to their website, just Google Cowspiracy. I think for like $4 or something, you can just watch it. And it's also been translated now, I think, into about 16 languages, and really goes deeply into the environmental devastation of animal agriculture, and the water use and depletion and pollution, and the soil erosion, and the cutting down of rainforests, like I said, at a rate of an acre per second to grow soybeans, to feed factory farm cows, pigs, and chickens, and fishes. The destruction of the lungs of this planet, and the loss of genetic diversity. I mean, animal agriculture is the driving force behind the extinction of species. We're talking about between 100 and 200 species every single day are going extinct on planet Earth because we want to eat meat, dairy products, and eggs. We're destroying habitat. Cutting down rainforests is cutting down ancient, really ancient wisdom depositories of these ancient forests. And also the oceans. We're overfishing the oceans, which is causing huge numbers of marine species to go extinct as well, because scientists unfortunately discovered, probably 40 or 50 years ago actually, that if you enrich the feed of livestock with fish meal, it's profitable. They'll give more milk, they'll fatten up faster, they'll give more eggs, and so forth. So cows, for example, actually are eating more fish than human beings do in the United States, even though it's comical to think of cows trying to catch fish. But, again, it's the same old thing. The cows are eating meat, not because it's in their interest, but because it's in the interest of their exploiters that they eat meat, right? You got to remember that. That's the same for us. It's not in our interest. It's in the interest of the exploiters that we eat meat. That's why we're eating it. It's not because it's in our interest. We're like cows. We're being used, essentially, and so we have to see that what cows have to go through and have their babies stolen, and have their products stolen, have their lives stolen, have their purposes stolen, being forced to eat foods that are toxic, and so forth, that this is very profitable, and that it's devastating to the environment on every level. And the cows concentrate toxins. I mean, if you're eating fish meal, they're eating all the toxins that concentrate in fish, which are probably the most toxic meat on the planet, because all the toxins end up in the water. And fish concentrate toxins more than any other animals do, since they breathe water, and there's more levels of animal eating in fish. So the point is to just see that if we just want to somehow be a force for healing the planetary ecosystems, by far the greatest gift we can give to our Earth is to move to a plant-based diet, a plant-based way of eating. we're talking about, according to research that's done by the United Nations and other groups, reducing our global footprint by 10 or 20 or even, in the case of freshwater, 30 times. In other words, 30, according to the United Nations research, 30 people eating a plant-based diet use as much fresh water as one person eating a standard Western diet. So think of that. I mean, it's horrific news on one level. It's like, how could we be so incredibly wasteful? But it's really good news when you think about, wow, we can reduce our demand for fresh water not just by half or by a third, but by 1/30. And so the idea is that we have plenty of fresh water on this planet if we stopped wasting so much on irrigating alfalfa and feeding it to cows. It takes 1,000 gallons of milk excuse me, 1,000 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of milk. I mean, think of that, 1,000 to 1. And I'm from California, where we're having terrible water depletion problems, and no one wants to hear about this, and the media won't talk about it. I mean, this is the situation that we're in. So I won't say anything more except that really a plant-based diet that's organic. I would also recommend organic because, again, herbicides and pesticides and fungicides really devastate bird and fish and insect, butterfly populations. And so I would say, while we're at it, besides plant-based, organic, I'd say also whole foods as much as possible, not eating all these chemicals and preservatives and artificial flavors, because not only are they toxic for our environment, they go through us and they end up in the water, and it's bad for everybody. So just minimize the amount of toxins that we're paying for and supporting is a wonderful thing. So to realize